Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. If you've been here before, you've probably seen that I have a pretty big collection of Burger King crowns. Um, some pretty fun stuff. Well, I'm going to add a new one to it. Let's see here. Ooh. All right. I have this. This is for the new release, the Star Wars universe, the Mandalorian and Grogu. As you can see, there's a Mandalorian helmet. How cool is that? Well, you can get like a couple of different meal options. I'm just going to slide this over for a moment, including like a bounty meal. And of course, you can get kids' meals, which I think is kind of neat. Packaging is pretty cool. It's more cardboard stuff. This is a fun picture, actually, between these two characters. Uh, anyway, yeah. Well, there's the Razor Crest. It's pretty neat. There's a maze. So yeah, anyway, let's get a quick look at a couple of the toys. There's the Mandalorian. Looking pretty cool. And there's Grogu. Looking like Grogu. Funny, when we were first introduced to this character, of course we all called him Baby Yoda, because, well, that's what he looks like. That is actually pretty neat. So good on Burger King to give you a little figurine with your kids' meal. I mean, that's the way it should be, I think. We're going to draw a picture. And hopefully the sound doesn't cut out too much, and if it does, that's okay. We'll hopefully be okay. I'm still trying to figure that out, so let's open up this inkwell beside me. Grab my pen. Now, I think the idea that I have in my head... making a bit of a mess here. Okay. Let's zoom in immediately. We'll lock that down roughly there. I think I'm going to draw a lot more initially, because I'm trying to think of kind of like scale, but not perfectly scale. I'm going to draw a line like that to start. And then I think everything will be based on what goes on hereafter. Some of my favorite things are stories that are meant to inspire. And I think Star Wars has done that. We've had some pretty awesome movies set up from George Lucas and Lucasfilm. And I know my childhood, I have fond memories of those movies. Now I think each generation gets their own version of Star Wars movies and whatnot. And Disney runs that end of it. And so that's a different kind of fun too, I suppose. I'm basically here drawing that Mandalorian crown that I have. It's not going to be perfectly like it, although I do have it set off to one side, so I can look at it for reference sake. Now, something that I think has happened within Star Wars fandom is a voicing of complaint. And I've kind of resolved something inside my own head in regards to that. That there's a great possibility that not every Star Wars movie is made specifically for me. So I don't really complain about this stuff. I'm under the impression that I'm not contacted before a movie comes out. And so I'm okay with that. Now, I don't know how it's possible that this movie, which hasn't even come out, it actually opens today. So this is Friday morning, May 22nd. But yeah, it opens today, and there are people that are already somehow uh, giving some reviews after only really seeing the trailers. That I don't understand. To be honest with you, I think that's a ridiculous thing. And they're already panning this movie, which again, I think is ridiculous because if you haven't seen it, I don't know what you have to complain about. Star Wars fandom is a little bit different than other fandom. And I'm not saying this to just be critical of that. No, actually, I am. I am being critical of that. As I said, and this doesn't make me more evolved as a human being, what I'm about to say. Uh, I'm pretty sure, as I mentioned, not every movie that's ever made is made for me specifically. And I'm okay with that, to be honest with you. I really do think that they have to make movies for people other than me. So, um, but yeah, to already criticize something, you know what? I don't really get it, to be honest with you. There's a part of what these movies are that's just meant to be fun, and you get some popcorn, you get together with your friends, you head off to the movies. I think that's really what you should be getting. It's like the movie experience. So yeah, no, I don't really get the complaining. I'm kind of under the impression that some of the biggest complainers are the ones who might look at, well, the old movies and think, well, the best version of Princess Leia is when she is the slave of Jabba the Hutt. And I don't really think that's fair. I really am taking a little bit of time with this crown. I'm going to speed this up just a little bit so that I can get past this. But I want to at least have this part of the detail in here. And go on from there. Let's see. Sides of the Mandalorian helmet. Something like that. So I have it tilted here, the entire thing. And then in the background, if it was kind of closed up, you would have the other two parts of the regal crown, which has 5 points of the crown. We'll have those kind of in the background. So yeah, you can go into Burger King and ask them for a crown, and they'll hook you up. You can put it on, and you can head off to the movies. So keep that in mind. If you do go to the movies, try to be respectful of the other people there. Yes, laugh, cheer at those points where you think, "Oh, that's an awesome moment." That's part of the public movie experience. But try not to be a menace or a phantom menace. That whole chicken jockey thing that happened a few years ago now, that wasn't funny. I don't think that was funny. I think people try to create little viral moments or whatnot, but making a mess in the movie theater and like throwing stuff, especially at other people too. That's a horrible thing. You just go to the movie theater and anyway, don't be a menace. Don't be a phantom menace when you go to the movies. You know, dress up as your favorite Star Wars character. I think that'd be kind of fun. Bring your lightsabers, uh, but don't disturb people. Like before the movie starts. Uh, yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun to light up your lightsabers. When the movie's over, it'd be fun to light up your lightsabers. But during the movie, just be respectful of other people and the experience that they want to have too. Uh, Here's where things are going to get a little wacky, I think, because we're already 12 minutes in because I spent so long on this crown. Um, Again, I will say this: this isn't sponsored, by the way. It's just a what I'm kind of scratching it out here, and I have one eye closed just a little bit more so than the other because I think that's kind of funny. This is going to be kind of like my version of Grogu, and I'm saying my version because I don't really have anything in front of me. You know what? I do have a toy. I guess I could use that. Actually, let's back this out a little bit for a moment. Well, I don't really like to use too many references because I try to use my memory as often as I can. Yeah, anyway, I'm just going to set that there because I think that's probably good enough. Um, anyway, let's get back to this. I'll leave it sitting roughly there. Do, do, do. Now, Grogu, from my understanding, uh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to share something with you. So, I have a theory, and I'm sure a bunch of people do as well, in regards to Grogu and what we kind of suspect. But I don't know if this is going to be true or not. And so, if you know in the comments, let me know. I didn't research this. Uh, Grogu would be about the same age as Anakin Skywalker if Anakin Skywalker was still around at this point. Uh, Born about 41 years before the Battle of Yavin, and which is when the Rebel Alliance first blew up a Death Star. So the first Death Star. That's kind of like how you would track timelines in the Star Wars universe. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Um, yeah. So that's my buddy Neville in the background. If you heard him, letting me know that we're about 15 Yes, here we go. So, get ready for this. Um, I wonder if Grogu, formerly known as Baby Yoda, is a clone, or some version of a clone. So, clones have existed in the Star Wars universe long before it really became part of our vernacular in everyday life. So, an example of that would be Boba Fett being the naturally aged clone of Jango Fett. Um, Anakin Skywalker, I'm not saying he's a clone, but he's some version of a metachlorian manipulated being of sorts. So he does have a mother, Shmi, I believe is her name, but he may have been manipulated in some ways by Palpatine into existence. Um, I wonder about Grogu. If indeed Grogu is kind of like a clone. Maybe. I don't mean of Yoda, but that'd be interesting because Yoda was amongst the most powerful of the Jedi and Force users. So it would be kind of funny if Grogu was kind of like a clone of Yoda. Again, just a theory. I don't know. I don't know for sure. Let's actually let's open the mouth just a little bit here. It's funny. Some of when I look back at my childhood and seeing Yoda on the screen in the first time, I remember just laughing because you know here you are on the Dagobah system. Luke Skywalker has kind of crashed his ship in a swamp, and he meets this little curious creature who starts rummaging around in his stuff, looking for snacks. Well, in some ways, I think Grogu reminds me of that interaction because Grogu is kind of a snacking machine. Ear here kind of flopped a little bit. And his ear is probably just as wide as his face, or maybe even a little bit wider, his ears. With our little sketch here. Um, but yeah, so when we're first introduced to Yoda, he he's being a little nuisance of sorts. But I mean, he hasn't been around other beings in quite a while that might have delicious things, so he's not really as interested in what Luke is up to, although he would sense who Luke is just based on his feeling of the Force. And when Luke gets to meet Grogu, it's done in epic fashion, of course. But there's a very, I don't know, I think they've worked in lots of little moments that reflect on the old series of movies. And of course, I've said this many a time too. I think Star Wars is primarily the story of the Skywalkers. There's lots of other stories that kind of come after that, but yeah, that's my own take on that. Next, let's see here. What we're doing is creating a little bit of space based on even looking at my own hands. But space here, kind of between little little knuckles, digits. Uh, the Mandalorian and Grogu are probably around the same age at this point, possibly. So, although here's the thing I think about Grogu. As far as like how he is, I think there's a great possibility that he is more like a toddler at whatever stage of development that he kind of is in. So, if he's a newly manipulated clone, well, see, I don't really know this. That's the thing. So, I mean, if you know this, then let me know. But yeah, he's basically a toddler, just kind of running around, new and learning stuff. So he needs someone to kind of help him out. Based on the size of the child here, we're going to have him holding on to a delicious cheeseburger with good sized bites out of it. Now, I'm not sponsored by Burger King, but here's a funny thing when I think of Jon Favreau. Uh, that first Iron Man movie, we we get to see Tony Stark come back from captivity, and one of the first things that he wants of life from being back from captivity is he wants a hamburger from Burger King. Now, that kind of product placement, that's pretty funny to me. Um, I don't know. Like, it doesn't take me out of the movie quite the same as other things would. But, you have the character just like, hey, a good old fashioned hamburger. That's what I really want, or whatever. And so, so you as the person watching be like, oh, I can have the same thing that Tony Stark has. Something that I might have taken for granted. It's kind of funny to do that kind of stuff. Anyway, so Jon Favreau, good on you for uh, you know your relationship with Burger King, because anyway, I get a kick out of that stuff. Um, if you've had any sort of chance, I guess, to see like Wayne's World, and they talk about like sponsorship and product placement and that sort of thing. Some pretty funny scenes where him and Gareth are talking about that, and they're just dumping products on the screen. It's really funny, actually. So in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago, well, he may not have had such a wondrous, glorious thing as a cheeseburger from Burger King. It's funny that they. Anyway, I get a kick out of that stuff. But our buddy Grogu here is having a delicious cheeseburger from Burger King. Um, I'll clean up some stuff as I go here, mind you. Say here, we'll have another little hand. Yeah. But we'll set it up a little bit higher or lower. More things that you've heard me say. If you have a favorite comic book artist, you'll notice something consistently, that some of your favorite superheroes that are drawn coincidentally have the same kind of hands as the artist that draws them. That's because sometimes those artists use the references that they have at hand, which is their own hands. So there's that. I think for fun, I'm going to perhaps send this little doodle to our friends at Burger King. Maybe they'll get a kick out of it. Maybe they won't. That's okay. As I said, this isn't sponsored by them anyway. Since I'm kind of in some ways referencing them, so yeah, if you guys know anyone, I'm just kidding. It's just because it's in front of me. I'm not really looking for that, but I just think that's funny. Okay. Good old Burger King. What else can I talk about with Mandalorian? This is going to sound rude, I suppose, but I don't really mean it to sound rude. I'm a big fan of characters that are kind of rogues. So, like, let's say Han Solo, who kind of have a change of heart, let's say. They're just kind of they do their own thing for a long time, and then they kind of get won over for the greater good. They're like the gray area kind of characters. And I think in a lot of ways, those characters are much like you and I, more so than, the heroes of the stories uh, have kind of this thing where they're expected to always be good, and it's not always fair to those characters. It's ideal, of course, that they are always good, but we all know that Han shot first. Poor Greedo. What I'm doing now is I'm just trying to manipulate some French fries into a little carton here. And we're going to have some that are sitting lower. Maybe one sticking off to one side here. Okay. I don't know if I'm really going to do too much more with this because I don't know what's really necessary for the doodling's sake, but I would think it would have been kind of neat, actually, if they had another name for this movie. Like a secret name, even, would have been kind of fun. So, like Star Wars, A New Hope, which I've already talked about, or Empire Strikes Back, or Return of the Jedi, uh, giving it kind of like a chapter in a story kind of name. I think uh, The Mandalorian and Grogu, it's a pretty good name. I just kind of wonder if it would have been like, in some ways, maybe a little bit more fun to have like, I don't know, just a different name. So it's featuring um, Grogu and Mandalorian, but I don't know. Perhaps they could have called this, and maybe uh, this is just kind of off the top of my head. They could have called this movie Beskar Buddies. Actually, that's not bad. Beskar Buddies. The um, the armor that the Mandalorian wears. It's very specific. And in the world of Star Wars, there are different types of metals, of course. So, and some of them have very specific properties. Some of them, in some ways, can deflect or have lessened damage to lightsaber attacks. So, now Grogu is force sensitive. And in the promos for this movie, we see him with like a disc of Beskar. And I suppose that's intentional because we have to be under the impression that he's under the wing of his adoptive brother, but kind of father figure, who's a Mandalorian. buddies. I'm going to clean up a little bit of the lines here. I don't think I'm going to bring out a brush and water and semi-gouache it up, which is something that I typically do. And if I do, then perhaps I'll sit down and do it again. Now, that huge disc that we see Grogu wearing, well, huge to him. I'm going to try to work that in here. So if you've just joined me for the first time, thanks for hanging out. We are drawing a picture of Grogu from the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And yeah, welcome. If you haven't been here before, well, I'll say this much. I draw pictures for fun, and I do them in real time without editing them, and mostly in one take. If I think well, whatever I'm doing is taking too long, which this one's almost getting to that point, so I'm going to finish it up. I might do it in different parts, and so I'd like to be part one, part two, that kind of thing. Yeah. So you can subscribe if you wish. You can like. You can comment. I do chat back. Try to be respectful of some of the other people because, well, I do this for my nieces and nephews, and they're a little bit younger. I do ramble on about some pretty wacky things, but I try to keep it G. Well, that's what it looks like. Well, although I picture that going the other way, doesn't matter. I suppose you can have it do what you need it to do. Well, folks, thanks for hanging out. Feel free to come on back. See if we'll do something else kind of fun. If you see the movie today or sometime this weekend, let me know what you thought of the movie, and